She has 3 bonus actions without touching any rogue levels. Every attack is built to make the next one stronger, as heat is built and stocked off every spell, every attack, every bonus action that we do. For example, just casting Scorching Ray will add a d4 of fire to all our melee attacks. It'll add a whole new bonus action. It'll increase our heat points by 6, allowing us to soak up and time out a really strong melee attack as a catalyst to dump all of our heat points into, or we'll just charge it up on one massive fireball and take them all out at the same time. Our reaction abilities cause disadvantage on basically any attack that comes our way. Sun Soul Lae'Zel is a total nuke, just an expert at AoE and single hand-to-hand combat mixed with any kind of weapon proficiency at the same time. With her fire, radiant, and bludgeoning attacks with her offhand, she is just the absolute best to go against the undead. Hey, we're almost at the end of our origin character build series, so make sure you get your comments below on what kind of build you want to see made, and the polls will be back up soon. There'll be chapters below if you want to skip around. Until then, I'll see you at the end. First level is going to be kind of a wild card. We're actually going to pick fighter for our first level for a few reasons. Number one, the fighting style dueling is going to be very helpful. We're going to use it quite a bit. We also get constitution saving throws, which is always going to be helpful if you're casting any kind of magic. And we're also going to get proficiencies in every weapon and armor. If you're going to have fighter involved into a build, I always suggest taking it at your first level. You just get so much. Ability scores, we're going to 16 both our wisdom and our dexterity, and 14 our constitution. I would dump either charisma or intelligence and keep strength at a 10. Next level, we're going to get monk. Getting monk this early is super helpful. We don't have to worry about getting second attack so much because our bonus action now does 2 additional attacks. Also, our wisdom scores now get added to our AC along with our dexterity, giving us an AC about as much as the basic medium armor would be in the first act, which isn't going to be much of a problem because our next level is going to go into Cleric, taking the light domain, giving us a reaction called Warding Flare. This is going to let us use our reaction to give disadvantage to any attack coming our way. This is a total lifesaver. It's absolutely busted. I've put a lot of level 1 light clerics into melee builds just for this. And besides cleric spells, we also get our fire spells, which is Fairy Fire and Burning Hands. Burning Hands isn't the greatest, but it is a level 1 slot that you'll use later just to soak up heat. And Fairy Fire doesn't suck either. It's very, very helpful. I suggest using it against the Belay and the Underdark. Our next level is Cleric, and we get our Eternal Divinity called Radiance of the Dawn. And this is a very massive AoE radiant damage that takes an action. It does 2d10 radiant to anybody in that facility that is hostile. I'm doing an honor one right now with this exact build. I'm using this skill all the time, especially in the Goblin camp. This just deletes people. It's very, very good. Our next level in Cleric gives us 2 new spells, Flaming Sphere and Scorching Ray. Now, I don't really use Flaming Sphere in the last half of the game, but I use it a lot in the first half. It's really dope in honor runs because it soaks up hit, and it does damage just by sending near people, and it takes an action to do 2d6 fire. It's really great, but Scorching Ray is definitely the king out of this list. Shoots 3 times, each bolt does 2d6 fire, and when you are accumulating heat with the gloves that I'll be showing you later, it's going to do 2 stacks each time these bolts hit. There's also a hat that I suggest using in Act 2 called the Hat of Fire Equity, and this goes amazing with Scorching Ray. Will immediately add +6 to your spell save DCs if you hit with these, allowing full area coverage with command or hold person. It's just a really good combination. Our 4th level in Cleric opens up a feat, and I chose the Elemental Adept for Fire. Now, if you don't want to choose it and you just want to increase your wisdom, I totally get it, but fire is the most resistant element in this game. It's the most resistant element in D&D as a whole. A bunch of people are resistant to fire, and this gets past that. Your fire skills will all bypass their resistance and do full damage, as well as reroll all your 1s for your damage dice with fire. It's very valuable. Our next level goes into Cleric, and we unlock 3rd level spells, and we get 2 new 3rd level spells, Daylight, which is only good in 1 instance in the game, and Fireball. We can now cast Fireball with our Wisdom modifier, and it's absolutely dope. Now, it's not as good as building up Fire Equity or Heat as Scorching Ray is, as it counts it all as 1 hit and not several different hits per target, but it's a massive AoE damage builder. I definitely suggest using it. And Daylight is really only going to help you when you fight Cazador at the end of Act 3. He's going to take 20 points of radiant damage when he's inside of it, and everyone that's undead in it is going to have disadvantage on all their main attacks. Our next levels go into Monk, unlocking a bunch of new bonus actions that take key points but mimic the rogue abilities for cunning action, except for patient defense. But anyway, our next level is going to go into Wave the Open Hand for Monk. I'm not going to take Wave the 4 elements. The additional spells aren't that amazing to offset what we're going to get at the end of this route. So we're going to get a bunch of new Fury of Blows abilities that will topple or push people over. They're fun. 4th level is going to open up a feat, and I suggest bringing our Wisdom up to 18. 5th level in Monk is going to open up our second attack, and is going to give us Stunning Strikes. Stunning Strikes are OP as hell. They're a DM's absolute nightmare. Definitely make sure you try to stun a target first before you start using your Flurry of Blows. That way each punch will have an advantage to hit them. Our 6th level in Monk is going to give us the Key Empowered Strikes, so now we can punch ghosts. We have Manifestation of Soul, adding additional damage to our unarmed attacks, but most importantly, Wholeness of Body. Wholeness of Body is going to regain key points for 3 turns, and in those 3 turns, we have an additional bonus action. And that's 1 extra bonus action down. We got 1 more left, but that's going to come in the equipment side. Speaking of equipment, for weapons, I do suggest using a torch. Honestly, it's a D4 plus another D4 of fire. It fits the theme. It's a monk weapon. It's totally dope. Definitely just swing a torch around until you can get the Golden Wormling Quarterstaff. This is a D8 when used by you, uses your dexterity, and has additional fire damage to it. You can buy that from the Zentium merchant at the Goblin Camp, although it doesn't really take advantage of your dueling fighting style. You don't really need to worry too much about doing fire unless you really want to be on theme throughout the first act. I would just focus on a weapon that's a monk weapon so you can offhand attack at the same time. You can start building up heat in Act 2 when you are done with the Drider encounter. One of the monsters that followed him drop it. It's the Thermodynamic Gloves. Every time you do fire damage, you will gain 2 stacks of heat from this. And thanks to a fun trick, in Act 2, you can make any weapon do a d4 of fire. It's as easy as using the Dragon Throat Glaive and casting it onto any weapon. I usually have a character in my party using the Dragon Throat Glaive. I'll hotkey it to their bar and then switch it over and pop it on before the day starts. That way you can do some really fun stuff like using the Thorn Blade sold by a Daemon to do additional d6 of poison and do a d4 of fire at the same time, still getting your stacks. Act 3 though, I would absolutely use Blem, the scimitar that you can get from the end of Jaheira's storyline. Just go to her house, follow the instructions, and it's super easy to get. You can get it literally as soon as Act 3 starts. It's a very good weapon that comes with a bonus action attack, which is so handy when you're trying to push out the heat stacks that you did with all your other actions, because you know you can't with your hands. It has a really cool AoE whirlwind weapon skill. It's a +2. It's definitely the best choice for this. Toss with d4 fire damage on it and you're just great, good to go. In Act 2 you can find, I think, the best robes for this, which is Bided Time. They're robes that once you get hit, you get 2 stacks of something called Arcane Charge, which adds 2 points of damage to any spell that you do. And since we're using spells like Scorching Ray and we're hitting multiple times in one go, you know, those will stack up really quickly. You'll find these at the House of Healing's Morgue. There are a ton of necklaces that could be helpful. I mean, the Mass Healing Word necklace is also helpful. The Harper's Amulet for a shield, super helpful. But Fireheart is definitely the #1 necklace for this build. It'll add to your heat stacks by 2 for every time you get hit. And remember, because we're wearing Bided Time, we're already adding 2 additional points of damage to it. So just getting hit amplifies your attacks just so much. There's 2 rings I would say definitely should be slapped on this build. That would be the Ring of Elemental Infusion. You'll find that in Act 1 at the Crush. Every time you cast one of your spells, your fire spells, it'll add a d4 of fire to your melee attack. That's a good way to get around using a weapon that doesn't have fire damage to still build up heat. And then also I would suggest using the Ring of Self-Emulation. You'll find that at a guard tower in the middle of the Shadowlands. It's in a box, I believe, or a dead body, one of those. It lets you use a skill that takes a bonus action to set yourself on fire, giving you stacks of heat. And you can use this outside of battle, which I suggest doing right before one. And last but certainly not least, the equipment that gives us our 3rd bonus action is the Hat of Pyroquickness. You'll find that at Sorcerer Sundries in the vault, in the Elminster side of the vault. Using a leveled fire spell, which I found to mean any spell that costs 2nd or higher, you get another bonus action. So now every time we cast a fireball, we have another bonus action, and we're going to be casting these spells constantly, so it'll always be there. I should mention the Hat of Fire Acuity. I would definitely be wearing this until you can find the Hat of Pyro Quickness. If you talk to the Strange Ox in Act 1 and then meet him again in Act 2, he will show you what he really is, and it's awful. I suggest killing him for it. And in his dead body, you'll find a few things, and one of them are the Hat of Fire Acuity. It adds 1 to your spell attack and spell save DC every time you hit someone with a fire spell. That's why Scorching Ray is so useful with this. Hey guys, I hope you liked the build. I want to thank all my sponsors, but especially these guys right here. Super extra big thank you to Zero Style for joining the list. Thanks man, happy to have you dude. Every Sunday I pick someone from the adventure or higher on the tier list to enter a raffle that pulls every Sunday. And this Sunday I'm giving away one of my newest shirts, the Crown of Madness. I've got one new shirt idea coming, but the next ones are going to be decided by the list of people you see on the screen right here. So if you wanted to join that list, there's a link below in the description, and until then, I'll see you guys around. Bye!